So this is where the rubber really hits the road. It's your daily plan. It's about here is where you really optimize your day-to-day productivity. But you've done that by building on the good work you've done previously. You've got a 90-day plan, you've cascaded to monthly plans, you've had weekly plans, and now we're into our daily plan. So let's talk through the 9 steps we take to actually make our daily plan happen. Here they are laid out here. It's a 2-page layout. Let's start. So step 1, add the date, of course, but it's also to go back and look at your monthly plan and your weekly plan so you've got the real context of what you need to do coming up. In your weekly plan, you really want to be looking for what are the must-do activities I've got to focus on this week. All right, so the must-dos are the deliverables for this week. Step 2 then is to set up for the day. I think it's a really good way to start the day is to think about it and go, what are you grateful for? So think about what it is you're really grateful for today. So start with a positive mindset, and my intention for the week, or for today, is to do X, Y, Z, right? So in this case, I've said I'm grateful for strong relationships with my clients. Really grateful for that. And my intention is to really start the week on the right foot. Okay, it's a Monday, so I really want to get up and away. But you come up with whatever you want in that space. All right, our next step is to set up our strategic calendar for the day. And by strategic calendar, I'm assuming that you're keeping all your appointments and other things in somewhere like Outlook, Google Calendar, somewhere else, right? So you've got all your activities, your appointments and all that sort of stuff in there. And what I'd encourage you to do is sort of put them in blocks, right? If you know you've got 2 hours blocked out for various appointments, on this daily calendar, just block out 2 hours and have client calls, right? And then from then you will see where you've got gaps in your calendar for you to be able to time block to do must-do activities, right? So you might say, okay, well, I've got an hour between 10 and 11 to do something, all right? In this case here, we had a half hour between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. There's a bit of time in there where you could plug in, I'm going to work on a particular activity for 30 minutes, all right? So use this as your strategic calendar to work out where you've got time in the day to do things, and then allocate that time to that time. And then you can go back and block that time out in your Outlook calendar or wherever so that somebody else doesn't override it with another task, okay? So it's about being strategic with your calendar. Then it's about going and having a look at the must-do tasks for the week again, and then going, what are the must-dos today, right? And I'm going to say you shouldn't have, I'm trying not to have any more than 2, right? But I've left you room for 5, just in case there's some small ones there that are like, call Frank, coffee with Margaret type of stuff that you must do that you really want to put in here. But any big ticket items, make sure you don't have too many, because what I try and do is make sure I have 1 or 2 a day, and I try not to finish my day until I've done those must-do tasks. Now, if they're a component of a bigger task, a much bigger task, then you might put in, so re-engage weekly calls could be a subset of a much bigger task. That's all I'm going to do today, because tomorrow I'll do another component of that, everything else, and by the end of the week I'll have that big task complete. So don't have to put in the whole task. It could just be the bits you're going to work on today. Start with your must-dos, right? Then we're going to think about the Pomodoro technique, right? And so watch the video and read the text on using the Pomodoro techniques. It's extremely powerful. But what we're doing here is we're going to estimate in the box at the left hand side of the little Pomodoro tracker. We're going to estimate the number of Pomodoros, the number of half-hour blocks we think it will take to complete that task, right? And then so we go through and look at those, and then we can look at our calendar and say, where have I got time in my day to do this, right? So so we're allocating some tasks, right? So I might go here, look for that second task down. I've estimated 1 Pomodoro to do it, right, which is the square. And just so you know, this is a completed Pomodoro tracker. So you'd start off by filling out the boxes and then time blocking as much as you can to fit in that time during the day, right? And if you can't fit it in, what does that tell you? You've got too many must-dos, right? You've got to go back and clear something out, all right? And then what we do is when we start working on that task, if we're using the Pomodoro timer, it's quite easy for us to track how many Pomodoros we've done to complete that task, all right? And then if we complete it, we put a little X in the box at the end, or check mark, whatever you like in that box to know that task complete. But we might have put in one Pomodoro and not completed it, right? So that's the Pomodoro tracker. It's really powerful because it does two things. It helps you calibrate yourself in terms of how much time does it take to do some of these things. And it also keeps track. It allows you to do sort of really accurate planning by going, okay, well, I've got an hour to do this task. Can I find an hour today? Yes, I've got an hour between 1 and 2 o'clock. I'm going to time block that time out. All right, so it allows you to be really powerful in terms of your time management and your time blocking ability. Then we go to you should do task, right? So have a look at have a look at all the must do's, and then create a list of should do's, right? So I'm saying you should have 2, maybe 4 must do tasks at the top. Then there's a whole heap of other things which could be should do tasks. Now I'm not including in these things business as usual tasks, right? You can put some of these in here. Business as usual stuff fits in. That's regular client meetings and staff meetings and all that sort of stuff. They're all business as usual things. I'm trying to get you to focus on making sure you do the strategic things you need to do to grow your business, as opposed to doing everything that's on your to-do list, because most of the time you don't need to do everything. All right, so let's just then come up with a list of the should do tasks. I normally don't time block these because I want to do the must do's first, but I do the Pomodoro thing and allocate how many I think it'll take, so that if I do have some spare time, I can work out which tasks I probably should prioritize and drop in there. Okay, and then of course if I start working on them, then I'll track the Pomodoros and work out whether I've completed that task or not. Lastly then is the could do tasks. I rarely get to the could do tasks, but on a quiet day I'll often put them in. Some days I don't even bother to put the could do tasks in, but for completeness you may need to want to list all the things you could do in there. I find that could do's become should do's and should do's become musts over time. Provided that's a planned process, that's a nice way to do things. And then at the end of the day, I want you to do some reflection, right? I want you to reflect on a number of things. So I want you to rate the day from 1 being a lousy day to 5 being an absolutely brilliant day, and I want you to rate how good your day was. I want you to rate your mood, from being a bit grumpy through to being, ecstatic. Just where were you today? Because often the rating and the mood go together, but not all the time. Just a bit of a thing there to make sure, did you actually do your habit tracker? So have you checked off your habit tracker for the day? So just go and check that. And then ask yourself these questions, the standard questions we've been using. What went well today? What didn't go well today? Is there anything we need to change? And what are the priorities that we need to roll over to tomorrow? All right. And then, you might this place for notes and all that sort of stuff. So realistically, it's that process of planning your day at the front end, thinking about what you're going to do, and then using the Pomodoros to track progress and make sure you tick off the must-dos and those sorts of things, and then finishing up with some reflection so you finish the day on a good note, and then you set up the priorities for tomorrow. What's next? I mean, for me, the next for you is to start thinking about, how do I actually improve my productivity? So are you using the Pomodoro technique effectively? Are you cascading your plans well enough? Do you have the right big rocks? All those sorts of things. Are you time blocking? Just think through the mechanics of what it is. Are you doing it? Are you approaching it from the right level? So that's the daily plan. If you want any more information, there's more information on the Shift website. Also, feel free to flick me an email if you have any specific questions. All right. Love to hear how you're going with your daily plans. For me, it's the crux of this whole productivity thing, is to be productive in every day. So I wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.